Wow. Welcome back to Carmen's Bronco Shop. I'm Carmen, and it's been a long time. I hope that it's worth the wait. Anyway, before we go any further, I want to say a special thank you to my wife and daughter who put together this sweatshirt for Christmas this year, and I love it. Anyway, what I've decided to do is put together a series of clips that show how to build a Bronco from square one. It actually includes the jig as well. So, and again, thank you to all the guys that are on these Bronco networks like Early Bronco, Classic Bronco, all that stuff, because without them, I would have so many questions that have gone unanswered. And it's a fantastic forum. It's a great bunch of guys, and everybody seems to be willing to help each other. Anyway, so there are a pile of fellas out there that are trying to build Broncos that have never built one before. Then, of course, there's the guys out there that can do these things with their eyes closed, and there are the manufacturers out there that have jigs and everything like that. This isn't meant for those guys. This is meant for the do-it-yourselfer that's at home and he's saying, how on earth do all these parts fit together? Because it's just, it's a big deal. You see, you sort of think that when you're going along here and you buy all these parts that it's like a jigsaw. You just plug them together, but it's not that way. There are a pile of different manufacturers of parts, and because of that, there are different measurements for all these Broncos. What I've done is I've given you measurements based on my build, and you have to be aware of that, and you have to be flexible and able to change as you're going along. But this gives you the concept of how things sort of fit together and what you need to end up with. And remember, this is all about putting your parts together in mock fashion. So basically screwing things together, trying it, making sure it fits. And what I'm going to do is give you some numbers and some spots to start out from that help you do that. So without further ado, let's rock and roll. And it's no problem building the jig. It's all pretty well set up. It's simple, and it's very easy to move. So when the body's all built on it, it should be easy to go. But what's important here is that you can see I've got a center mark, and there's a center mark at the very front, and that helped keep everything square when you're going along, because nothing's level, of course. So you've got one body mount that's up here, one body mount that's down here, and as you can see, they're in different spots. So really the only way to make sure that you're getting things square is to go from the center and make sure that you've got everything is measured as closely as you possibly can. And with this piece, at least, I'm starting off square. Now, what I'll have to do when I get to the front and I'm adding fenders and everything, then I'll have to get the measurement from the front of the rad support back to the firewall and keep everything square that way, and we'll be able to roll along. But anyway, that's the way she starts, and I'll be documenting everything as we're going along so that anybody else who wants to do this, they'll be able to do it. Anyway, cheers everybody. This is going to be a little different the way we've got to do this, because I can't run the camera and do the sheet metal work at the same time. But we'll go in steps so that if anybody's thinking about doing this, they can kind of follow what I've done. And I apologize for bouncing all over the place like this, but there's no way to do it otherwise. And I'd like to get the full effect of building the body on the video so that, you know, it can be easier for people, because when you're looking at this stuff, geez, it sounds great. It's like a jigsaw puzzle. We should be able to, you know, bang, 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 and it'll all go together great, but we know it doesn't. I also had to grind some edges off that other extension to the cowling, this piece right here that I was just talking about. I had to grind some edges off of that so that it wouldn't bump in to the rib that's underneath the floor. And I don't know why the rib and the front edge aren't perfectly flush. There's, like, it was probably the rib was in about 5/8 at one spot and only, you know, maybe 3/8 to a half on the other end. Anyway, it's kind of weird, but everything, like I said, everything is good as far as the body mounts go and where they fit in. So like I was saying, putting each piece on, trying to think about it as we're going along, and screwing them in place with these self-tapping screws. Okay, so they're all done right up there now. And next step is we're going to move to the other side and put the passenger or the driver's side floor panel in and see how that works. And then we got to figure out how that works in relation to the top part here of the doghouse. So we kind of have to try things and then work the metal around a little bit, but it's going pretty good so far. Let's keep the faith. Okay, so a little update. We've got the extension to the driver's floor. That's in place now. And you remember yesterday we had the passenger side extension and the bottom part of the doghouse here. And now we've got the driver's side and the extension on the firewall for the doghouse as well. And there were little pieces that I had to grind off here. Sorry about that. There were little pieces on the extension to the doghouse, this piece here, that I had to grind off so that it would fit over the other pieces of metal below it. So you have to be kind of prepared to do that sort of thing, but it's going along really, really well. And so right now, if you put a level on this across here, it wouldn't be level, but it has to be when you're done, okay? And all that needs to be done to make this level is that this side gets pulled up a little bit, which will get pulled up when we put the kick panel on this side. And we'll make sure that everything is perfectly level right across before we weld anything in place. But again, Tech screws all the way until we know that we've got the doors working and everything is good. Anyway, so next step right now, we're going to put the top along the top of the cowling. Kind of excited. Okay. And these, the way they are, like they've got corners, and so they fit over the pieces that you've already installed on your firewall. So they have to go in a certain spot. So you can't really make a mistake with that sort of thing. But again, you've got to keep in mind that you're going to adjust all of this stuff as you're going along to make sure that everything fits. And that's basically it for now. I'm going to throw some Tech screws in that, and then I'm going to come along the side and try to put some kick panels on. But let's throw some screws into that before we get any further. Okay, next step. So we've got the windshield in place, that's obvious. And then the bracket, the lower bracket that holds the windshield, I call it the cowling, but I'm not sure what name you want to use, but regardless, it's a bracket that fits below the windshield and holds everything in place. But what's important about this bracket is that it actually, it has to go in a particular spot. Okay, it's all grooved out and you really can't make any mistakes with it. But being able to do that gets you that much further, and you'll see as you're going along that the windshield plays an important factor in trying to make sure that you've got everything square and right with your doors. So here we are at this point, and this is really important. So the measurement here is 21 inches. The next step here, now that we've got this all squared up, 21 inches from the floor to the bottom of the cowling that holds the windshield in place, I'm going to fasten the inside of the door pillar to this kick panel right here. And at the same time, I'm going to hook the fender onto it so that we can get everything straightened out that way and rest it on top of the rad support that's out here. And by the way, the distance between the firewall and the rad support is 34.5 inches. So you're going to see how that all goes in place. And that's where we're at in a couple seconds. There's a pile of stuff getting done, isn't there? It's pretty cool to watch the whole thing. So I had to kind of change what's going on here because I did a video back when I was actually at that stage of installing the door posts and kick plates and everything, but I didn't like the way it turned out. So I'm back doing it again here right now, but I'm sort of after the fact. But that doesn't matter. As far as jobs go, basically where you're at is where you need to mock in the kick plate, you mock in the door post, and you'll remember earlier I said that I used blocks to keep the bottom part of my dash at 21 inches. That could be 21 1/4, it could be 21 3/8. It's just the way I did it, and it worked. And with the parts that I used, I've done all kinds of these Broncos, and I've got different parts every time, so they're all slightly different. So I'm reluctant to give actual distances because they might work for this one, but not for yours. Anyway, I digressed. So we're mocking up the inner fender, we mocked up the outer fender and the grille and the hood, okay? And the reason for that is so that you can see what you need to finish at. Now there is a number, and I'll give it to you when we're all done, on how it worked out with this truck. But it's more important that you realize the front of the truck has to end up flush, and here's why. Now the cowling and the front floors on both sides, they all have angles and bends and things, and you can see roughly how they go. But again, this is just screwed right now. And it's fairly flimsy at that point, but that's really all you can do. So once you have that done, then put the top cowling on, okay? When I'm talking about this, the top of the firewall, this piece right here that I'm pointing at, okay? Up underneath. You're just gonna set that in place and screw it. You can see here how it's done, okay? You need that to help keep things square. The next step after that is the windshield extension, whatever you want to call that. Top piece on the cowling, it doesn't really matter, but you know what the purpose is. It holds the windshield in place. And you want the windshield in because at some point down the road, you're going to be looking at angles when you're trying to fit your doors on, okay? The next step is cut yourself a couple of blocks. These are 21 inches high. They go from the floor up to the firewall, or the bottom of the cowling, however you want to look at it. Same on both sides. Then your kick panels on either side, they're roughly 3.5 inches from this corner point right here out to the edge on both sides. Now they can move a little bit, but you want to have them roughly where they need to go so that you can put your door posts on. And there are grooves, so you only have so much room to work with here. But that's what you need to do. And once you get your door posts on, and be prepared, those are going to come on and go off a few times, but once you have them on, then you can go to this measurement sheet. And everybody's seen this. On the driver's side, there are measurements shows you exactly how far bolts need to be from different places. And I'm going to just show you quickly here. This top bolt here needs to be 4 inches from the edge of this piano hinge, right here, 4 inches. Then there's another measurement from that bolt down to this corner right here in your floor. That bolt also to this corner, and this bolt here as well to the corner, all right? That's pretty simple. The key to doing this is just follow those first few steps Just remember, you're going to have to take your doors off, put them back on, take them off, put them back on. But you do need to have your windshield in place, or at least I did, so that you can see where it needs to go. I mean, this moves all over the place, but look at the line. It's about 1/8 of an inch, maybe 1/4, all the way up. It's beautiful. Line down the side of the door in the front fender, roughly 1/4 of an inch. Beautiful, in my book anyway. Oh, and that's another good point. This is just me. This isn't anybody else. So I'm gonna go. I'm gonna put this back on the tripod. This is where it starts, basically here, with that 21-inch block, okay, that you saw in the previous video, from the floor up to the bottom of the dash, right here, okay, 21 inches. Now it could be 21 1/4. It just depends on the individual and the part you're using, okay. Then the other part that you need to do is basically here, from this point right there, that angle out to the edge. You can't go by the curve here because that's a piece that you actually have to add. But straight down from this edge right here is about 3.5. Okay, so that gives you the basics of where you need to put that kick plate. Okay, so let's move on. You can see there that you've got your door post fastened to the edge of that kick plate. Now you've got your door in place, and you've got your 3/16 all the way down. On the camera here, for some reason, it makes it look like it's a lot larger at the top, but it's not. It's pretty much the same all the way. And then here, it also looks like we have no gap, but we actually do. All the way up, and your windshield is going to be fastened to the top here with your, to your cage or to your roof, whatever the case may be. But it has to be the same height, okay? So your top of your door needs to be equal with the top here. And you're achieving all that, okay, by following what I just said. Then you move forward. Your fender is mocked in place. Your inner fender is mocked in place, okay? And your grill is mocked in place. All these things. So I'm giving you the measurement only because some people will still want it, but it's not critical. So basically the cowling right here, laying your tape down on top of the fender, coming right out to the front here of the windshield. Well, I'll just drop this down for 2 seconds so you can see that. That's 52 1/8, okay? Now, having said that, that's this build, okay? But what is so important is that the nose of your grill has to match up with the nose of the hood, okay? So if you've got the hood fastened to the windshield, okay? And you go and you do all this work and you've mocked everything up and you go and you add these pieces and it's out in front of the windshield, well then you just got to say to yourself, oh, okay, I've got to move everything back here a little bit. And that's what you do. But you're in the right ballpark with those measurements that I gave you. And I've had my doors on and off probably, I'm going to say 20 times, because I'm trying to do a really, really good job with them, and I want them right, okay? But that's the first step, is having the door lined up with the, the door lined up with the windshield, and then the fender lined up with the door, and the front of the fender and the grill lined up with the front of the hood. Once you got that, then you slowly start moving back. And we've got videos about that as well. So I hope this is keeping you civilized, keeping you sane, and it's helpful. I hope so. At any point, if you have any questions, just jot me a note. I'm on Facebook, and of course you can always respond on YouTube. It's a little harder to reply on YouTube. Sometimes I don't know if my replies are getting out just because it's a little confusing. But in any case, cheers, and we'll get back at it. One more little loop about this portion, only because I think it's important, okay? You've got the distance from your windshield to the front of the grill, okay? You put your hood on there when this is all in the mock-up stage, and you make sure that that distance from there to there is the same, that the hood is flush with the front of the grill. That means that everything else is in place here. And then you go back. If you install your hood and the front of your grill is inside, then that means that your doorpost is too far back and everything won't work out right. You're gonna have space here, all kinds of crazy things will happen. And vice versa. If your hood is back inside, then nothing else is gonna work properly here. So anyway, you just make sure you've got that and you're gonna be fine. This is the never-ending thing. Anyway, you'll see that I reiterated a few things. Those are important. That issue regarding the front of the truck, like from the windshield to the front of the grill, that's imperative. Obviously, it's something you gotta pay special attention to. The distances that I gave, the 21 inches with having the 2x4 supports in there, really important. Things like that, so that you've got a pretty good base to start with. What's really important, and I missed this altogether, was the square section that I started with in the beginning, just on the jig. The first part, the 5 pieces that were all welded together, came from Wild Horses. It's a fantastic place to start, but you do have to check it to make sure that it's square, because if it's not, and I've heard that some of them come out of the factory and they're not square, excuse me, just make sure that it is, and if it's not, then you might have to do a little grinding to get it that way so that it's not screwing you up later on in the job. So we're going to do some other videos that help with a little bit of the assembly of the back end. It's not nearly as hard. Those pieces, with a bit of grinding and everything, they go together, but they're not as hard to do as the front and getting the door and everything lined up properly. But regardless, I hope that everybody's enjoying this, that you're getting something out of it. I love doing it. If you like what you see and you're learning something from it, please hit the like and the subscribe button. It means a lot. So hopefully we'll see you guys sometime in the future at one of these Bronco jamborees or events held all over the United States. And I hope you're having a fantastic summer. Cheers to you all.